If you're after a big, posh, electric car that feels sporty, should you go for the new Audi e-tron GT or the Porsche Taycan? It's a tough choice, this. You know, these are effectively the same car underneath the skin. Same batteries, same motors, same architecture, but they have a slightly different flavour. You can think of this one as being like a bratwurst. That one is more like a currywurst, a bit spicy. You can rely on me to get the German reference in there. Yeah, very clever, Watson. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Do you know what? We've actually got a German carwow, and they must think I'm a complete over there. In fact, if you want to check out our German channel, put a link there, popping out in the top right hand corner of the screen. Click on that, you can go see it. Presented by a proper German, none of this nonsense. Anyway, I'm Matt Watson. You're watching Carwow.
Buying a new car? Then head to Carwow, and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Carwow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Right, let's start this video by talking about the price. So the Audi e-tron GT starts from just under £81,000. It rises to about £112,000 if you want to go for the sporty RS model. The Porsche Taycan, that starts from around £71,000, which makes it cheaper than the Audi, but that's because you can get an entry-level version of this Taycan with a single motor, rear-wheel drive and a smaller battery. Like for like, it does work out a little bit more expensive. So this turbo version is comparable to this RS version of the e-tron, and that's £116,000. Porsche's always a little bit more expensive, aren't they? Now, it can get a little bit confusing. So if you want to figure it out, just go to Carwow where you can compare the cars. You can also compare deals on them, check out leasing on the Porsche, check out the prices on the Audi. And if you get an electric car through Carwow, we'll give you 5 months free subscription to BP Pulse and 500 free miles of electricity. So why not? Go check it out. And if you want to do that after the video, simply Google "Help Me Carwow." My team and I will help you choose the right car for you and get it for a fair price from one of our trusted dealers. I'm going to compare these cars' designs now. And obviously what I say will carry a lot of weight because I'm so very, very fashionable. Right, for me, back end, the Porsche. The Porsche wins it. Look at that back end. It's beautiful, isn't it? That's good looking as well, but oh yeah, I'm leaning towards that. However, when it's dark, you can't really see that. Yes, it's got a nice big light bar, but the Audi's light signature is just that bit cooler. Also, when you get in and out of it at night, it does this kind of like light dance, and that just makes you feel good about your life. Overall though, the Porsche, it has the best bum. Check out these cars from the side profile and have a really good look at them. Can you see that the dimensions are identical? And that's because they are the same underneath the skin. However, they're wearing different clothes. So this is sort of like Jennifer Lawrence in the Hunger Games, and that would be her in X-Men, because it's blue. Maybe this is a bit low to the ground to be sporty, but the overall shape's similar. Though they identify them with different wheel designs and different creases in the bodywork. Both very good looking cars, but once again I think I'm erring on the side of the Porsche. Finally, we come to the front, and the Taycan benefits from the fact that its look is inspired by the 911, which has its engine in the back, so it's got a nice low slung bonnet, so this can have that as well, and I do like these lights. Then the e-tron though, it has to wear Audi's big grille, so people recognise it as an Audi, which means that it has to have this big front, which it doesn't really need being an electric car. It's like to cool, and they do that dance like the rears at night, which is nice. Another thing that I like about the Audi over the Porsche is this, look, this vent is real on the Audi, whereas this one on the Porsche is fake. A fake vent on the Porsche. Also, the Audi is available with a carbon roof, which is really cool, whereas you can't get one on the Porsche. But still, overall, I prefer the front of this. And I think it is the best looking car. But what do you think? What I've done, I've actually put a little poll on my Instagram account, Matt Watson Cars. Go there and find out what everyone thought was the best looking out of these two. See if everyone agrees with me or not. I've jumped inside the e-tron now, and Audi makes brilliant interiors, and this is their best interior to date. The design is awesome. I really like the different materials they've used, the structure of it. It's great. And the infotainment system, it's classic Audi. I'm used to this because I've had an RS6, so I know my way around. It's pretty simple to use. To be fair, all I do anyway is plug in my phone and use Android Auto on it. I like the fact that they've separated out the climate control buttons, so they're physical buttons, which is great when you're driving. You can just quickly change temperature, dead simple, by pressing an actual physical button. Other things I like, and get, look, this carbon fibre is really nice. On this carbon fibre edition, this has got the extended leather, so you've got leather absolutely everywhere. Still feels sporty because you've got this console between you and the front passenger, and it's all very solid, and your gear selector's there, so it's easy to use. You've got your digital driver's display, very clean, got all the information you want. You can slide through different menus very easily using the physical buttons on the steering wheel. Whoop. I like it. And the sport seats, they're comfy and they're supportive. Audi interiors are great. And there's a little bit of practicality. So a small storage area in there with like wireless charging for your mobile phone. You've got the area where you can keep your key there, always important. Decent sized glove box, well, an average sized glove box. And the door bins are big enough for a normal sized bottle. It's a win. Right, I've jumped into the Taycan now. And after the Audi, it's just a little bit more minimal, a bit cooler in its design. I do really like it. Also feels even more sporty. However, once you start touching stuff, it doesn't really feel any more expensive. In fact, I think the materials in the Audi, perhaps, maybe a bit better, a little less hollow sounding. And while I do like this clean look, it's more of a faff to use when you're driving. For the climate control, you have to go through this screen here. Yes, it does like vibrate like your mobile phone when you press a button, so you know you've done it, but still you're looking all the way down there and it's a bit of a faff. The screen isn't so high up as in the Audi either, so you're once again taking your eyes a little bit more off the road to look at it. And I just don't like the infotainment system quite as much as in the Audi. I find it a bit more fiddly to use and swipe through. But the biggest problem with it, no Android Auto. Anyway, another thing I like about this car is this digital driver's display, but yet again there's a problem with it. The steering wheel blocks some of the information, which is really, really annoying. I know why they're doing it like that. It's like classic 911 look, but it's just not that easy to use. Neither is the location of the gear selector. It's here, so you end up going like that to get to it. Just having to look round. You shouldn't have to. It's also the same problem with the power button, which is hidden behind the steering wheel. I can't fault the seats. Porsche does good seats, and I love this. Look, check this out. I love the way the headrest does that. That's cool. I also like the glass roof that you get on this car, but you get it on the Audi e-tron GT as well. It's just that has the carbon roof upgrade. As for storage, pretty decent. So you've got some decent sized door bins, some decent sized cup holders, there's space under here, and look, hey, look. Yeah, an iPhone cable, because the owner has no choice but to have an iPhone if he wants to use it with his car. There's some space here, but you can't really use it for anything. Put something on there, you go around a corner, it's either going to slide off over there into the passenger footwell where you can't reach it, or it's going to go in here underneath your brake pedal. Not ideal either. And in here, you may as well put things, oh, looking at that iPhone cable. We borrowed this car from our chief operating officer. It's his car, so I'm reviewing his car. So we might find some of his bits and pieces and knickknacks in it throughout the rest of this video. Anyway, glove box, same size as the Audi's really. Lined with felt. It's nice. Here in the back of the Taycan, it's all right for knee room. Foot space is okay because they cut out like a well in the batteries in the floor so that your feet can go lower, because sometimes in electric cars you end up with your feet like that too high because of all the batteries under the floor, but not here. It's just a shame you can't really stretch out the seat in front because these front seats are quite low. Big problem is this though, look, headroom. So I'm like 179 centimetres, my head is touching the roof when I sit up like this. Now, you can carry 3 people in the back at once. There's a bit of a hump in the floor though. It's an electric car, why is there one of those? And it's not the biggest seat, and then look, my head is hitting it like that. However, the guy who owns this car, John, does say that he carries his 3 sons in the back, the oldest one is 10, and he chooses to sit in the middle. But I don't think that's going to be happening for much longer when the 10-year-old grows and becomes a teenager. So you might be in a new car, John. And I'll tell you where you can get one from. You can get one from Carwow. Just click on the pop-out banner up there, take you straight there. Yeah, it's all right. Have you noticed this weird effect that I'm getting on my face? It's because it's rained. But what's even weirder is there's some kind of filter in this roof which stops you getting all hot and sweaty inside when the sun is shining. But on the outside, it makes the water droplets look like blood. Oh. This is the same car, so it's the same in the back, same knee room, same foot garages, same hump, same. Apart from the fact I think the roof is just ever so slightly less sloped, so there's a fraction more headroom. Though there is one thing on this car that is a bit annoying. Carbon fibre roof, what is the point? What is the point of trying to reduce your centre of gravity and weight on a car that's heavy anyway and it's got all the batteries in the floor? Much better to just have the glass roof, because look, can you see it's all like dark and dingy back here? Now let's talk about boots and practicality, because not great really. So the capacity is exactly the same on both these cars, 366 litres, which is only 15 litres more boot capacity than you get on a Volkswagen Polo. They're pretty much the same features, so a bit of a load lift. You can fold down the rear seats for some through loading. They even have like this exact same, look, 12 volt socket there, 12 volt socket there. You've got some underfloor storage here, though this is filled with day-to-day detritus of the owner and some fashion, some foot fat. There is something though that's lacking in this Porsche. There's no net there, and there's no shopping bag hook. You get these on the Audi, look, net, Shopping bag hook. Maybe they are available on the Porsche, but Porsche being Porsche, they're probably part of some kind of like £2,000, £3,000 option pack. Being electric cars, there are of course no engines under the bonnet, so that space has been used for storage, and both cars have 81 litres of space in their front boots. They're fruits, though that's still not quite as much space as you get into the bonnet on a Tesla. Still, you can use it as a place from which to pose. No, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to get out of this. This could be awkward. I'm a bit stiff. No, not like that. Now let's talk about batteries and charging. So the e-tron comes with an 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, regardless of which version you go for. And Audi says that'll give you a range of around 280 miles, though I've driven this quite some distance and I've been quite careful with the accelerator, and I've averaged 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour of battery. So when you do the maths, that works out to real world range of 218 miles. It's all right. Also, what's more than all right is the fact you can charge this thing at a rate of up to 270 kilowatts if you can find a charger. The best thing though is the fact that the battery can keep accepting high rates of charge regardless of how full the battery is. It only starts to taper off after about 80% full, so you can keep piling the electrons into that battery to get moving as quickly as possible. There is one thing that annoys me about this car though, it's the charging port. The way that flap opens. It could have come up with a better solution than that. It just seems a bit cheap on such an expensive car. Might have broken it. You don't have to get into a flap when you're charging the Porsche if you have the optional electronically operated charging port, though you will be charged for it. It's over 400 quid that. Worth it though, I reckon. Now with the Porsche, it gets a bit more confusing on the batteries. While this high-spec Turbo and the Turbo RS come with the same battery you get in the Audi, so an 86 kilowatt hour battery pack with a usable range of around 280 miles. Lesser versions get a 72 kilowatt hour battery pack, but you can upgrade if you want to. Now in terms of the performance of this car, well, John's been driving it and he's averaged 48.5 kilowatts per 100 miles, which is confusing because they're not using the same terms as the Audi, but if you inverse that fraction, it works out to a consumption of 2.1 miles per kilowatt, which works out then to 183 miles of real world range that John is getting. So John isn't quite as efficient at driving as I am. Yeah. I tell you what is efficient though, you have two charging ports on this car. One side is AC, the other side is DC. Okay, let's see what this Porsche Taycan is like to drive. Starting off with in town. Being a Porsche, it's set up to have that sporty edge to it. You don't have a comfort setting for the car. It starts at normal, there's no comfort. Then the Sport, then the Sport Plus. While you do get air suspension on all but the entry level model, it does have a slightly firmish edge to it. It's not bad, but you do feel a few bumps and there's the odd clunk as you go over ruts in the road. Put it into Sport Plus though, and you really start to feel them as things stiffen up. But it's not awful, it's not awful. And being a Porsche, it's designed to be sporty, isn't it? And the seating position certainly is. That view you get, you got a low slung driving position, the view out, you don't see the bonnet as it's sloping away, you just see the wings, a bit like in a 911. Reminds me of my own old 996. It's good that that lineage is in this electric car, but you do notice it's got relatively hefty steering. It's not overly heavy, but it's got a bit of weight to it. It's that Porsche feel. And when it comes to driving around town, it does feel like quite a wide car, and it is hard to tell exactly where the front corners are, even though you've got the wings to sort of help you out. Visibility, other than that, is pretty good. Big windscreen, decent side windows, but the view out the back, it's rubbish. One of the things that is good is the brake pedal. Sometimes in electric cars they can feel a little bit jerky as they regenerate energy rather than use the friction brakes. In this, they got it sorted. It feels smooth, natural and easy to use. Let's just check out the turning circle. So you can get this car with rear wheel steering. This one doesn't have it fitted, and I made it around that mini roundabout okay. Yeah, fine to drive in town this. As you get out on faster roads, the sporty element does pay off because it means that this car handles surprisingly well. Porsche being Porsche, you can get some extra bits and pieces to make it handle even better, such as active anti-roll bars, which stop the car leaning in the bends, and they do sharpen it up, but it's all too easy with Porsches to get carried away just ticking the options boxes, so you need to be disciplined. You don't need that feature, I'm telling you. Now, if you want to find out more about this Taycan and the Turbo S, and you actually want to see me rag one in the snow, put a link there, click on the pop-out banner, you can watch my video where I launch a turbo in snow. Speaking of which, let's check out the performance on this. This Taycan Turbo is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, but I've got my specialist timing gear here. I'm going to check out what it really does. Left foot on the brake, floor the throttle, go. Oh, God, this hooks up. Whew, what's it going to be? Oh, well, great. It wasn't great. I wonder if the fact that I'm a little bit low on battery has anything to do with that poor performance. 4.18. I've launched this car before, over and over again on drag races, and done sub 3 seconds. But when you're really low on battery, it has to reduce the amount of charge it can deliver. Now Teslas do this a lot more than this Porsche, so it'll still give you lots of launches all the way through your battery, but we are right on the dregs of electrons here, so I did the 4.18. But it's interesting to test it, All right, I'm now in the Audi, and it's got 75% of battery, so let's see how it launches. It's supposed to do 3.3 seconds. What we're going to do, blimey, yeah, it feels noticeably quicker. 3.09. Whew. So, it's quite clear that the Taycan was protecting its battery when it's low on power. Wow, this will be the same car. Seeing as I'm in dynamic mode, let's see how this thing handles. Unlike the Porsche, you can't get it with the active anti-roll bars. Yeah, maybe if you're hooning around a track, that would matter, but you're not, you're on the road. And really electric cars are more about like that straight line punch, and it has all the straight line punch you need. And it still handles well. It doesn't feel quite as darty. I mean, there's hardly anything in it, and unless you back-to-back these cars, you wouldn't know, but I am back-to-backing them so I can feel the difference. It's marginal, but it's there. I've got the car in dynamic mode, and it feels as firmly set up as the Taycan in normal mode. So if I go and put this into comfort setting, it should be, yeah, there we go. Notice it feels softer than the Taycan. It's just ironing out the bumps in this road. It's quite a bumpy road, this. It's doing a better job than the Taycan at just smoothing things out. It's a bit more relaxing. The steering as well, it's lighter, it's easier, it's more cruisy, less sporty. What is better about the Porsche is that it's much easier to change modes because you can do it on the steering wheel, whereas in the Audi, you have to press a button all the way down here and take your eyes off the road. Annoying. The driving position as well, you don't feel so low in this car. It's easier to see where the corners of the car are because of the shape of the bonnet. It doesn't just dart away from you. To be fair on the Porsche, the view out the back of this is identical, so identically rubbish. For general driving, this seems just a fraction more chilled. The reality is that how I drive on the motorway, in town, I want the car that's slightly easier. And this is slightly easier than the Porsche. It's less of an intense experience. Throttle response, not quite so sharp, ever so slightly, just tailored back. And for everyday driving, I prefer it. As with the Taycan, all versions of the e-tron get air suspension apart from the entry-level car, which is on steel springs. And you can also get this with rear-wheel steering, like you can the Taycan. And this one has it fitted. So I'm going to show you. We go around the mini roundabout. Hopefully I won't annoy everybody, but yeah, look at that lock. I can actually go over the mini roundabout. It turns so tightly. For a big car, it really helps with the manoeuvrability. If I was buying one of these, I'd be ticking that option. When I say ticking it, it comes with the Vorsprung, which is what this car is. However, like with other big Audis and the RS6 that I used to run, this car has a similar problem on the motorway, so generally no wind noise. And obviously it's quiet because there's electric power, not an internal combustion engine whirring away. But you've got huge tyres and they do kick up some noise. The windows on this car are double glazed and they keep out most noise, but you can still hear the roar of the tyres. If you'd like to see my full in-depth video review of the Audi e-tron GT, I'll put a link to it there. Click on that, you can go check it out. So the engineers have done a good job of making sure this Audi feels different than the Porsche and vice versa, even though they are the same car. So then, what's my final verdict? Which of these two cars is best? This is such a hard choice. And I'm going to let my bottom decide. It's going to plonk itself on the car I like best. And it's the Audi. The reason is, this is focused on being sporty, but electric cars, just because they're a bit heavy, aren't that sporty. This is focused on being a comfy cruiser with a sporty edge, and it does that. It does it really well. And I think that is why I'd rather have it. That's why it wins this test.
Thanks very much for watching this video. If you want to watch more videos on CarWow, click here. And if you want to find out more about electric cars, go and visit our electric car hub by clicking here. Thanks for watching. Come back soon.
I think you need to click there, and there. But that's fine, you get the
Sort of
idea.
there.